Yeah.
We did it.
Hello, everyone.
We didn't use the take all commas intro. We did it. Congrats.
Progress.
Yeah, we are getting slightly better at this.
Yes. We're so early. Let's wait for any more scuffed
Well,
fuck ups we
you
can
know
do.
what? Yeah, I was gonna say we just started. Let's not jinx it.
We need a good intro, but we'll work on that on the future because the Take All Command one is sick, and I want the same.
I feel like in honor of those who stood in the ground before us, we can't make it too good. It has to be a little scuffed, just like a little bit, just like the fonts like slightly wrong sizes, that kind of stuff, just so people remember.
Just off center. And they're like, that's off center. Is like correct. So that means you're paying attention.
Exactly.
Just all of those little things. That'd be great.
Exactly. Boom. Hello, everyone. Exciting to be here. We're gonna talk about the mighty WTC aujourd'hui. Today, sorry, I'm already starting to speak French. Oh la la.
Started.
Oh la la. But how are you going, guys? How is going?
Very, very good. It feels like at least for us, it's kind of feeling like WTC preparation all over again since we're in the middle of our captaincy voting at the moment. And it's like a Bulgarian is coming out of nowhere trying to, take our country. It's very weird.
Trying to light England on fire, one might say, with Ignite it, maybe. Does that work? So for Team USA, I think we're in a really good spot. We got a great result. You can't be mad about a podium, and then there's a lot of things we could have done better, and we're all having a lot of honest conversations with each other about how we can do that. And I'm pretty optimistic for the future, which is sweet. And this is always a fun period of the year as well, when all the WTC players flood back in the singles events, and then everyone doesn't realize like what we've been doing, and they get the full shock and awe of what happens when everyone knows how everything works and you don't. So that should be a lot of fun.
Usually LGT is the first one.
Yeah. Yes, Sako, me and Nassim are wearing your shorts.
Yes, baby.
And so for me, I mean, in Belgium, we are a bit more chill. It's still a bit chaos. So we're only doing the debrief early September because as a captain, I had to do other things during this period of time, like studying for exam. And we're still a bit in the dark, but I should continue to be the captain. So we'll see how we can do in the future. But we're really happy about our result as well. It was a good year for us.
Seed 1, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the start of the. It feels like the WTC only start now, but it's going to be interesting. Like when you're in seed 1, like the perspective to go on an event to try to win in, it's different from like being in seed 2 when you go to the event to try to be a class higher, which is exciting.
I'm so happy for Belgium, but I'm also incredibly sad because the Belgian Grim Reaper was my favorite part of pod selection, and that's gone now. So
he's the next Grim Reaper. Do we think someone has to take the role, right?
I mean, now it's not going to be that anymore, but now it's going to be can we get the Scotland Netherlands pod again? Now the Netherlands is C2 and Scotland's C1. That's what I want.
Third year in a row. Let's go. And Luxembourg as well. And Luxembourg.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah. We need to find a new seed 3 nation to go to Pira Cup so we can do the pod all over again, right?
Yeah.
Pira Cup in July.
Boom.
So guys, today we're basically gonna review a bit everything about WTC. We have some nice matrix about WTC that we're gonna show. I think we basically gonna all explain a bit our experience, how it went, and then we'll discuss about the general result a bit more, and we'll finish by focusing a bit on one specific round that was almost the final. We'll talk about that in a few time, I guess. But I maybe start with you, Nas. How did WTC feel? How did it go? Like maybe explain a bit. Like I mean, don't go too much into detail. We don't want the show to take like 5 hours. But like explain a bit like what was the best round you got, and are you happy? Like was it like a reconstruction year for you? I guess as England. So like
I mean,
explain
it was
a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like a rebuild year for us, right? I mean, we had essentially 6 players who hadn't been to WTC before. If had been to WTC before, it was like the first time playing in like 5-6 years. So it was good in terms of that perspective, getting a lot of warm blood to the event to show you how it was like. Really enjoyed that. I think probably one of our favorite rounds. I'll probably have to say.
Your microphone is.
Oh,
I think.
can you hear me?
Yeah, it's going.
Oh, there we go. It's probably just like this.
Yeah.
Our favorite round. So it's very interesting because we had like just a lot of rounds that were a blast. And apparently our opponents also thought the same, which is why we came second in sportsmanship. I'm gonna plug that in. Let's go.
Last in humbleness, but
Don't need it. I'll probably say so. The round Vs, I would say the Germans was actually a lot of fun. Like I got to play with Anna. I mean, and like the whole round was close until the end, which is kind of what we wanted to see. Like ended up playing against one of the big dogs. They ended up coming second, beating out USA. So no, like the overall event was nice. It was really hot in there. Probably the hottest I've been in recent WTC history.
Oh, did you go to the first one? Did you?
No,
The very first WTC, and that was bad. This was the second worst, but yeah, that one's bad.
Wait, which one was that?
That was the first time in the airplane hangar. It was it was bad.
Oh, was it? Oh no, I hadn't been there for that one.
You are not there. Yeah, it was really hot that day. That day.
Yeah. But like I really enjoyed it. I mean, like it's my favorite event of the year, right? There's a reason that a lot of players, when they go to it, they do everything they can to try and go back in one way, shape, or form. It's a lot of people's favorite event. It's definitely one of the events that I take the most pride in, at least doing well at and practicing. So, yeah, no, good event. A little bit hot, but apart from that, it was alright.
And how did the 6 new blood felt about the event? Do they want to
there's a hunger. There's a hunger to come back. There's a hunger, which is good, which is kind of exactly what you want. Because I guess it wasn't the atmosphere that I've grew up playing WTC in over the last few years. Like I'd say the Mechlin is Mechlin, and it's great. They're bar popular. There's a similar type of vibe this year, but not as much. But despite the changes to WTC and the differences, like they enjoy the event, they want to come back, and there's that hunger to do better. So yeah,
that's a good vibe. That's cool.
And there's more people applying, so it's always great.
More people than last year?
There will be more people than last year at this stage.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, it's going to be like 80. Yeah, it's a lot.
80, oh, fuck you. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I guess I should do next as the... So, I mean, I was the captain of Belgium this year, and it was awesome. I think game-wise, it was probably one of the best WTC I went to. Like, if I only look at I would say the game, like the gameplay perspective, like we got the chance to finally face those some of the high tier 1 nation, which was amazing. Mm-hmm. And it was super cool to like be in the run to try to win the whole thing, even though like realistically we were a bit behind, but like we still had like a good run, so it was cool. Yeah. So I love that. Like it was a bit weird because like I come from here where basically the evening we were like drinking beer in between us, even during WTC. And then
you're playing with France in the finals.
Yeah, and then this year my player were there like no, I will go to sleep at 10 p.m. because I need to take some strength for tomorrow. I was like, okay. Me, I wanted to party, but like I guess I understand some of my players cannot do that all the time. So but it was interesting, and like gameplay wise it was amazing. Yeah, sadly they were not the bar populaire, but I mean we are not going to talk about that again and again. Hopefully it's going to be slightly better. Like because of like money, we had to take like Airbnb relatively far away from the venue. We had like 25 to 30 minutes car to go in and to go back. So like we were a bit off I would say the general atmosphere that I like from the previous year, but like gameplay wise it was amazing. I mean, and I'm quite happy with this one.
Seed 1, baby.
Yeah, Seed 1. We are finally Seed 1. So, like I already mentioned, next year we are in the tall court. I don't know how do we say that in English actually, but
in the upper tier, I guess. In the upper tier.
Yeah, dans la cour des grands in French.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
We're gonna get a water bottle to squirt you guys every time French comes up.
Dude, it's the French episode. What do you mean?
Yeah,
So if you had one WTC, we might have spoke American, like y'all.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Next year maybe next year we talk English on that podcast, but until then we're gonna talk French.
Liam, I love you, man. I don't think you're ever going to talk English, so it's all right. Yeah, I guess I can go briefly as well. I think that kind of, as not to harp on, I think as we all said, kind of it's the event itself was disappointing compared to previous years. You know, a lot of the kind of external things that really make the event special weren't there. And like at a certain point, I actually kind of felt a little. It could only be described as embarrassed for our new guys because like we had hyped it up so much how incredible it was with all the stuff, and the competition level was still there, right? You know, everyone was playing some of the best 40K I've ever played, but the social aspect just wasn't quite the same. You know, that said, there were some things that were still really great. You know, I think every year WGC always makes the swag even better than the previous year. Like this year was great with that stuff, right? And you got our own personalized dice trays and stuff like that too. It was really cool. So that was nice, but then there were a lot of other components which just didn't quite the mark. So, but as you said, next year, onward and upward. I know it's going to be moving. That's the only thing we know for sure is that it will not be in Leoben again, which means it's going to be super exciting. You know, I know there's some cool bids out there, and I'm really excited to see where we go. And then our new guys. I think everyone's really, as you said, Nas, like pretty hungry to get back. You know, they really want to see what they can do. It was a great experience, I think, on the table. For some of them, it was eye-opening too. You know, it's like at the level of competition we're doing and kind of what the difference between that and say playing even in singles at high levels. Because every one of our players is playing event tournaments at high levels, winning tournaments. You know, I mean, it's kind of the bar to entry for Team USA, but like at this level, it's just different. You know, and you can say that as much as you want to people, but until they get there, they don't really get it. So, I think it was overall pretty good experience and pretty optimistic for things. Yeah,
that's cool. Maybe we should talk about know a bit about like what do you think was the like I would say the best faction at WTC this year? What faction would like did perform and didn't? Like
do we want to say like the best faction, like which is the best army coming out of WTC, or which one do we think
performed the best?
If we're gonna say like which one was like did the best against like maybe where we thought it was before coming into the event. To me that's a little more interesting.
Yeah, sure.
So like for me, I would say like World Eaters is the one for me, because there were tons of different World Eaters lists at the event. Like every World Eaters list was a special snowflake in its own way, between the Corn Demonkin, between the 80 Berserkers. We had Denmark's version with I think it was 40, and then Anthony's version with Angron and stuff. And they all did really well, right? And it was pretty cool to see an army which people generally thought was kind of mid, not that good, perform excellent over the course of the event. Like that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I think World Eater would be the army for me as well, because like, I mean, I would say it's probably the one I was not expected to do as well, and it's probably the one also that had like you mentioned the most diversity in it. So like I was quite impressed by the army overall.
Yeah, each one was different, right? Pretty much. I mean, there were a few core components that were the same, but
Karn basically, I think that was the only the common component.
Everyone had Karn. Not everyone had Forge Fiends, which is like
I mean, if you talk to the French, they are actually saying that Forge Fiends are bad, and you cannot really go against them right now. I think so.
No, they're wrong. Okay.
I mean, it's gonna be a frustrating 2 months when we have to endure their opinions that were never tested, but have to accept this fact because they won. But that's their right and privilege as the winner. So
the worst timeline, the second worst timeline.
But after the timeline where England won, that is
USA. We're second most sporting. We're second most sporting. People love us now, all right.
Even Nas knows there was no timeline in the multiverse where England won that WPC. So.
Jermaine did.
I mean, another faction that felt really strong, and I mean, to be fair, I was quite expecting that, but like because I am playing the faction, but overall, like I feel like every fucking Eldar, and they were also kind of 2 build that were I mean even 3, but like Eldar have been like really dominant, and I didn't really expect that much at the start. Like, I mean, long story short, like a month before the BTC, I was not playing Eldar because I was thinking the Eldar nerf were too much to play it, and apparently like it wasn't, and it's still like a fucking great army right now. It feels
No,
like
it's great.
because you had the Warhorse build and the Circoncile from China as well. I think that did really well. Like so like yeah, that's probably for me the 2 stronger army of the BTC.
Yeah. For me, I actually would have said the Warriors as well. To be fair, like I was looking at yours scores each time, and I was like 15, 16. I was like, what's going on here? Am I missing something? And like Matt was just crushing people with his 80 Zerks. Like Anthony was doing well with them as well. So I think the Warriors is definitely the army that's come out of it, where I definitely went into the event kind of semi-disregarding them. I was like, yeah, no one's gonna have this faction. It's garbage. It was not garbage. It was actually pretty good, and which was kind of surprising. I'd say another army for me that I think did better than I gave it credit for was the Virulent, at least detachment for the Death Guard. I thought that almost everybody was going to have Hammer, and most people did. But like Virulent for France did very, very well, as we know. We won the War Masters and came, I think, 8th out of the scorers at WTC. I thought that was actually going to struggle a little bit against the field with all of the knights out there, but clearly not.
Yeah, that's fair. Like they actually like obviously they won, so they humble us a bit. Like indeed, before the event, I would have also said that like Hammer was clearly better. Like they were almost no question, and yeah, no. Actually, the difference were not that high. I mean, to be fair, Alban is a really strong player. So how much? Like maybe if he would have played Hammer, he would have done as good. I don't know, but
maybe right, but like
but
like
still.
yeah. The other thing was that like I know like Eldar was actually quite good against Virulent, at least with our testing, and it, like against Hammer struggled a little bit. So like, it was just always interesting to see.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's team, right? So you can avoid those pairing anyway.
Yeah.
I actually have a. Ben is actually asking you something, Nas. How much did you sweat against China on one?
Dude, I don't sweat, dude. I don't know what you mean. No, it was it was actually a close round in some points. I think because like I played against the CK player, which was actually the coach, because like one of the players couldn't get their visa approved in time, so they actually couldn't get over to the event in time, unfortunately. So I think if they had him at the event going forward, because I think China got like 3 74-point losses, by literally 1 point, and like they had somebody who was reading the rules as they're going along. Like I think next year they are going to be really strong, especially now they have that under their belt. No, it was definitely a close round. It was I would argue our toughest round in pod, just from the get go. Like it kind of felt our pod was like semi lopsided with that. No, they were good. I was nervous.
So, continue on the same topic. Like, what about, do you think, like, would say the faction that underperformed in your opinion, like the faction you were expecting a lot and that didn't like perform as you expect? I can actually maybe bring something to support us, like the French community, called the Yokai Clan, give us a nice like tools here, which is quite useful. It's like basically it's the matrix of the whole WTC. From all the game that happen at WTC are resumed in that matrix. So I don't think if you can see it really well on screen. I'm gonna zoom it a bit more so that.
Yeah, just right off of that.
But basically, you can look at the run. So,
Liam, do you want to take a second
maybe.
and maybe talk about Team Yoki real fast? Or the Yokai clan? How do you pronounce it?
Yokai.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yokai
Yokai
is
clan?
Yokai. It's basically it's a new collective of French players. I think it's basically it's two main team of French that combine together to form like an international team that's gonna do like international event and as well as French tournament. I think it's the old No Name and Paris United that combine, and like it's a bunch of guys from Team France basically, like Salisia, Tanker, Tinico, guys that did, and basically I think they want to start to do content and stuff like that. And I think it's Zeka, the old captain, that kindly give me that so that to help us supper. He did basically a matrix that bring all the data from WTC, and I think it's like a nice tool. So thank for that, Zeka.
Thank you,
But
lads.
yeah, so basically, I mean, for me, it's not really like something that surprised me, but I feel like overall, and I'm interesting to have your advice about that, Brian, is T-Sons didn't feel maybe as dominant as some team thought it was. It would have been. What do you think about that, Brian? Like,
Yeah, so it's interesting because I've been reflecting a lot on my own personal T-Suns kind of performance. And I actually feel like a lot of the more mid results I got were because I wasn't playing it as aggressively as I was playing it in practice games. And I think that it's an army which is really easy. I think it's an army which is really difficult to beat if T-Suns don't let you beat it. As like I think that's generally always been true, which is why it kind of operates in that kind of mid range. But in order to get like bigger scores out of it, you have to get the tempo exactly right, and it's different every single matchup and every single opponent, right? And that's pretty hard, and especially in frankly, at least with me, there's environmental conditions, right? Hot, tired, sweaty, playing it, it's challenging, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's in some ways it's like expected that I got the results it did, but then you look at somebody like Jensen playing it, who was getting it right every single time, you know, and on Denmark, and he crushed, right? So I do think that it's one of those things which the power is there, but I think harnessing it is perhaps harder than people, including myself, appreciated. And one other thing that I think was happened reasonable enough of the times it didn't happen in practice games was there are a number of huge like critical failure points that can happen with the army over the course of play, and it's pretty unlikely to hit a bunch of those in the same game, unless you're me, in which case you hit a bunch of them in multiple games in a row, right? Like Magnus doesn't kill the Wave Serpent, or you don't get the double move off with your 4 attempts to cast it, or stuff like that. You know, like things where it's like you're looking at like probably like single percentage point chances that it happens, like 1%, but like, you know, in that like 1 to 9% range of it happening. But if it doesn't happen in practice, as was my case, didn't really happen at the level I needed to, for me to realize this, that it does add a level of volatility to the game, I think, which wasn't appreciated. So that's what I would kind of say is my general take on it. But now, so you guys had T-Suns as well, right? What do you think?
Yeah. So I think for us, it kind of feels like you had the WTC with T-Suns that are T-Suns that had at Pyra, because we went into Pyra, at least in July, with like, and Liam will know because he was there. It's like, we was like, oh yeah, our T-Suns was going to do great and real good. And then like it did just fine. And then like just had to accept that everybody was just very, very well practiced against this army. The tricks from it compared to last year didn't change too much. The power was still there. And at least for us, with the way that we used our T-Suns, we got a majority of the results that we wanted out of it. It did, at least for us, it did quite well. Of course, it could have done better, but it still did quite well for us. I think for me, I think just the role of the different T-Suns players on the different teams, you can kind of see from like the scores. Like it feels like Jensen was given a lot of priority with his T-Suns to like go and hunt. Like he's like, these are my good matchups. I want these matchups on these boards. Take these boards away, leave these matchups, and I can crush it. And then he had a list with the Terminators that was a slightly more suited at pushing for bigger scores compared to some of the other lists that you and Alex had. I think it was pretty much the same list with the exception of like who had the uppy downy.
Yeah.
I mean, for Hen, we were also running Thyssen, and I mean, my Thyssen player went to me at one point, and like, at the Codex when he came out, he told me, "Yeah, I can win any match. It's so strong." And then more and more he realized that when people know how to play and when there is wall on the table, he cannot really push differential, and often the best he can do is a draw. So at the end of the day, we end up using Ortisan not as a point scorer, but more to go on the hard matchup to because it can blunt anything, and it's probably one of the stronger army in the game, because in single anyway, because you can. It felt on our end at least that he could play anything to like a small win or a small loss and never get blowout, but it would struggle to push a lot. So we were more like, okay, we have a problem against Knight, send the Tyson, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of generally how we used it in a similar fashion as well. It was like, but like on occasion, it's like, all right, there's these couple matchups left that are good for it, and on its board, because we defended a lot of the time. Or at least a lot of the time he got his good scores was putting him down first, putting him down second when there wasn't too many things that we could answer the T-Sons quite earlier on. Because it feels like that army on a light board with its speed that it can have was actually quite powerful. And then in the closer rounds where it doesn't have as many answers, like it doesn't the way it has your opponent has more answers, then it can get those like blunting scores.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I know like we're kind of your take, both of your takes is kind of that people kind of knew how to play against T-Sons, right? But the general theme I got from every team I talked to was that they didn't know how to play against T-Sons, right? But they still kind of performed in that space, right? So, because like I know we'll get to it in a minute here as well when we look at these, like for example, the French Matrix, but I look at that and it's very different from mine in terms of what I think it could get. Not in the space of like I'm thinking I'm blowing out armies when they think that they're blowing me out, but it's definitely times where like they think they're getting a win here when I think I'm getting a win, and I kind of wonder, because a lot of these games were games that I practiced too, and I don't know how much they were able to practice because our T-Sons kind of this year have moved into a space where if you don't have the pilot, it's especially tricky to get a rep.
I can a bit answer about that, like at least for a couple of the French players that I know personally. I know that especially like Alex Sacco was their Tyson player last year, and he did train Tyson a bit, but really quickly disregard them because he didn't fail the gameplay. So I think it is probable that like in France, for example, there were a bit of some of the people disregard a bit Tyson. I don't know for all of them because I don't know them all personally, but the one I know didn't have the best practice into Tyson. Like,
because I know Poland was similar, right? Talking to Meissen about it. I mean, was that they just don't. They had tested Warp Melt a bunch. They didn't have really good pilot for it. Pumba was the only one, and Pumba was sunning on a beach somewhere in Italy. It's like it's and then I know for Germany, I don't know how many reps Arna put in, but Arna is their T-Sun pilot, and Arna was playing Knights. You know what I mean? So it's like every Tier 1 team that didn't take it had a really good reason not to. That wasn't because T-Suns weren't good. But then the results are fine. They're not like the world beaters that some people laid them out to be, that I kind of went into it expecting it to kind of be as well. But I wouldn't, I'm not disappointed with my results, but I do feel like I left points on the table in my games looking back. And that to me means that they were still one of the best armies in the room, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't think it's an underperformance. I think the expectation were not correct, but overall, Tyson did pretty well, I think. And in addition, we have like the little caviar of indeed like the Danish list that did incredibly well. I think it's the top scorer of the event with
I think
the Terminator.
132 points or something, 100 and like it's got a lot of points.
Yeah, which is amazing. Like obviously, like doing that in a level like the VTC is always like a big accomplishment. So congrats to him. Even like you can say like he was helping pairing, but like everyone is helping pairing at some point, right? And
his list was also like had a critical component, I think, in that
the Terminator
space. Yeah, which was huge, right? I think if you're given pairing help where you can leverage the Terminators and really help you leverage that pushing potential in a way that maybe wasn't fully realized with the other T-Sons. I could definitely see that being the case.
I agree. Like Terminator are the sauce, guys. I play Malt quite a few times before, and like he showed me the Terminator, and yeah, they are incredible.
Yeah, he loves those guys. It's 30 Terminator, I think he added War Masters.
Yeah, but even in Coven, like the 10 man is amazing.
Yeah.
But And maybe the last elephant in the room is, I mean, I think we quickly Death Guard. I think to not to go too long. I think it's pretty much what it was expected from this Death Guard, which was more of a blunt. I think Death Guard were like, if you look here, I think on the matrix, you can see that every Death Guard, like when you look like it's like 11, 13, like it's all around 10. There is no like blowout, which like I think that was what I expected from Death Guard, to be able to basically score 10 reliably in everything in the meta, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, it was just one of those armies, right? Like it feels like the hammer list that a lot of people took was able to just, hey, I'm not gonna get blown out. I'm gonna score these. I'm gonna get these scores. I mean, if you look at USA's list, for example, like Gonyo's one, I think his lowest score was a 9. His highest score was an 11. It's like he just did what he said on the tin. Like, I'll play anything and get this score each and every time, which is very useful to have in a teams format.
I'm pretty sure that Ganyu could have shown up with an Age of Sigmar army and still gotten 10 points out of a matchup. That's kind of his specialty, man. He's the first defended king. So he'll show up with his what is it, Lizardman army, and just get 10 out of knights.
Man. And then what about Knight and CK? How did you feel about, like, especially maybe you, Nas, that you bring both to right?
Yeah,
so
we had both Imperial Knights and CK, and like, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. I think what we found out, like when we were at the event, is like, you know, the Knights Matrix isn't the best. The CK one is slightly better, and I think with hindsight, the Swedes had the right approach with, hey, let's just take the Chaos Knights, because the Chaos Knights always has that pretty high floor, because, you know, its shooting is pretty reliable and it has access to the little knights and the demons that it can ally. But Imperial Knights was just a little bit hard, so we found that in a few key rounds, and we also found it when we played these other double knight teams like the Austrians or the Germans, that they would defend with the CK and the IK is just kind of left in the hand, trying to get protected to not get blown out by one of its counters. So you just found out a lot of the time, at least what we did, was attack with the IK into something you can get a score out of. Like East Germany, they first defended with Fred with the 6 big knights, and we're like, all right, here's Eldar, which we know will get us a very big win in this matchup, or here's IK, and let's just get this out of pairings, please. Which was kind of like the theme across from what we found at the event when we started playing against the Seed 1 teams that had dedicated knight answers.
Just confirming, this is the row score, right? So Admech got an 11 into Eldari, for example, or is it the column score?
It's the row. So like Chaos Knight got 0 consistently into Admech. I'm curious to see how many. It only happened once. That's why. But
there you go.
yeah, so like here is the score. When I look at the matrix, like there were a bunch of like draw each match for CK especially. Some like high loss, but I think that's probably a question of data. And Eldari, I think it's probably okay. Eldari was clearly a bad matchup for CK if we didn't guess until now. But yeah. And like coming back at what you say, I think because we play Germany, and I also think the first defense knight as well. Like and I think they pretty much did that all tournament, because I think they did that against you as well, Brian, right?
Yes, they defended with Fred, because they took the table 8, the light board,
and Anthony got scam a bit.
Our knights got chaos calls. Was that on the light board? I'm going to double check what we had.
Yeah, Arna got chaos cult, yes, against. I just
remember looking over and seeing all of Arna's knights in the corner of the board. And then being yes, Arna's doing the classic teams play of, I'm going to get a point here.
He got quite a few points.
He got quite a few, yeah. And to be fair, it was a good tactic. Like, you're playing as an army which wants to murder you. He's going to take secondaries which require murdering you. Don't let him murder you. Like, it's a pretty easy path to that, and Arna executed it well. So that's cool.
But yeah, I think indeed I liked what I think, to be fair, I think the Sweden did defend Knight against us as well.
They first defended Knights the entire event as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like CK, even though like people had answers to it, they always had the potential of on their boards to actually do a significant amount more so than the IK, because the IK has the issue of the range, which is
and the ARP problem as well.
And also much easier to move block as well. So it's like, I think that coming into it, I know at least from the US perspective, we felt like IK, like when we initially started testing, we felt like IK was the stronger of the two, right? And then once we actually got into it, we
It's like
quickly
CK.
realized that CK is significantly better, and then IK was actually just kind of fine, right?
Yeah.
It's super easy to pin, and then like when it doesn't get its table, it's fine. If it gets its table, then it's pinnable, right? So it's like not exactly where you want it to be.
I
think I agree with that.
Yeah, which is kind of, I think, like in hindsight, I think Sweden had the correct approach where, like, I still think Knights were good. Like, CK was still good enough to take it in the 8. However, if I was to redo my 8, I would just basically swap out the IK for, like, the Space Wolves or for, like, anything else at that point that can fill a run team.
I mean, as Belgium, we took only CK as well. It was probably more of a faction specialist question, but we had like a different approach than most of the team, and it went okay as well. Is we decided to not defend with Knight and we were using it maybe more as a attacking the other Knight that were gonna defend, like the two. And I think we forced quite a few CK mirror that way, which was fine for us because we didn't have like a lot of answer to CK. Like the matrix into CK was quite awful the whole tournament, if I recall correctly. Like, like even me, sometime I was like, oh, on first defender on search and destroy, I'm not confident enough to go. So like, I was like a bit of a pussy there a bit, but it's okay.
Liam being a pussy,
never. But yeah, think to be fair, yeah. But yeah, I think indeed CK was better than EK, and one of the big components we didn't mention a lot, but it's about like the blast profile into EK. Like they don't have the volume to deal with some army, right? And like you saw, like for example, the French bring like 140 guardsmen, and like or the 80 berserker. I don't think like Knight can just kill that.
No, I don't think you can kill it fast enough where the Knights get like an actual score out of it. Like the berserkers shouldn't get a massive score out of the Knights, but then like you've done like a good enough result into Knights, right? Like there's a lot of OC in those lists where they can actually contest and steal objectives off of Knights, so they can actually.
Is there one army or component maybe of an army which changes it that you feel like you guys really missed in the prep? Like for us, I think the one thing that we really kind of missed and looking at it we wish we had was the 30 Hawks. I think that was a great addition and modification. That would have been awesome to have. Like, is there anything that you guys feel in your team comp that really you had the capacity to play and was kind of missed?
Yeah,
like I know Nas had previously talked about Space Wolves. Do you still feel like that's the case?
So yes and no. So like I know, like we had enough T-Suns answers from within our comps. I know a few people took Space Wolves to like answer T-Suns and to also like basically pin Knights and like to an extent. But like we had enough of those answers already. Like the Space Wolves, performed well for people across the event. Like Marines did, but like I don't think there was at any point where we were like, oh, really wish we had Wolves here. It's like they probably would have been a better addition compared to the Knights because then you can double down on that role and it's a little bit better playing that drawish bracket because there's just less volatility there. But I think off the top of my head, I can't think too much. I think the Thousand Suns was fine. The Death Guard in terms of list components was alright. The Voltan could have been just the other detachment. But like
I was very close to saying that I wish we had brought Miss Votan, but I was like, I'm not going to do that to Greg.
I did it. It's okay. I love you, Greg. But like, yeah, like I was generally we're pretty happy with quite a few of the lists. I think the only thing is, in hindsight, again, was just the IK. But it's just what do you swap out the IK for? Sisters would have been like not too bad of a shout in the meta game right now as well, because that would have been able to give a lot of Death Guard a game, and also like Knights like a better game there as well. So it's touch and go in terms of what you wanted, but it's just the fact that the IK was just so pinnable, and like you could be okay with CK because CK can still dig itself out, whilst the IK couldn't really do that. So having a list that could maybe play that middle of the road, or just a complete SKU list, or like or somebody else plays God and I plays the EC, or somebody else takes the EC, that would have been a nice one to have as well. Because
so I mean, my roster was really like outside. I mean, we're gonna touch that a bit later because I know it's in the question. But I didn't like. We make some choice that was not really meta choice, more player choice, and it went well, right? Because in Belgium we have a lot of like OTP, so we have like a Necron, a player that only played Necron, and he was selected, and so he played Necron, and this was fine. And then one of our best player is actually only playing Tyrannids, and he played we skew his this really hard, and he played the Tyrannid Carpet, which in hindsight did pretty okay. He did what we expected to do, but we didn't expect a lot from it, which like because we knew it was not the best faction, and it's a bit sad to lose one of our best player into that. But also he only played it, so like we were a bit restrained by like the OTP, like the fact that we are player that
One
only play that. Yeah,
Mm.
one trick pony. For example, we didn't took we made the choice to not bring Space Wolf us. We went for the Blood Angel choice, and I think our choice was pretty good because like where most team were defending with shooting army, we were defending with our melee army to go on dense board and take pretty much everything, and it worked pretty well. Like our Blood Angel is probably our best scorer after me, and he did an amazing weekend with like his whole melee army with no gun, and it worked pretty well on his table. Like I think he went second defender pretty much every time, and took like one of the dense table, and nobody could really beat him on his table, and it was amazing. So I would keep that all the time. We also had like the CSM Hackers build. We went for Raider. Again, a bit of a variation from most of the people that bring Chaos Cult. I think Raider was slightly weaker into Knight and stuff like that, but was probably better into like stuff like Elf and stuff like that. So in hindsight, I don't think it was like a bad choice either. So not really like, to be fair.
It's pretty cool, I think, right? Because I actually think, like, looking back on our comp as well, there's things maybe I would tweak, slight adjustments and stuff like that. Maybe we could do a different faction, but I'm not mad about any army we took.
Yeah.
I don't think that any one of us, if we were to ask, like, hey, would you run, if you had to run it back, would you like just radically shift things? Or is there something that was totally missed? And I feel like this is the first WTC where I can earnestly say that. Where it's like, oh, there isn't an army, I was just like, oh, we didn't consider that at all. You know what I mean? Like that was significantly better, or like, or our comp was wrong because we had this, right? Which is pretty, I think, pretty cool, because that's the first time I've seen that at least at WTC.
Yeah. I mean, it shows how the meta was still, even if the meta was shitty because of Knight and Death Guard, overall in team, the meta felt pretty balanced. Like outside of those three armies, you had like, I think like probably 12 to 14 army that was playable, which is super cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of variation there, which is good to see.
I mean, I guess that's it about the global analyze of the WTC. I guess we're gonna jump into like the meat of the episode, I would say. So we're gonna basically we play with our contact and we ask some metrics so we can analyze them in detail, and we basically chose, I would say, which probably was the final of this year WTC. I mean, it was not really in the last round, but it was probably one of the game. Like I was happy I finished my game quicker that day, so I could watch a bit. So it was USA versus France. Sorry, Brian, it's going to be a bit painful. Obviously, we are always reviewing your only loss of the tournament.
I've got my emotional support cat.
Yeah, when they crushed you.
But yeah, so let's remove that. So France versus USA. Maybe I don't know how you want to do that, guys. Should we maybe review the pairing? And maybe Brian, can you maybe start with that? Maybe I think it's probably the best. Can you maybe start with explain us a bit the story of that round? How did you like prepare? How did you feel? Because I'm pretty sure you knew it was probably the most important round of the tournament, right?
Yeah. Well, so it's like coming into the round, right? There were, and this is not meant as any disrespect to other teams out there, right? But there were only a couple teams that I felt like were like the teams to beat, right, to win the event, right? Germany was one of them. France was one of them. Poland was one of them. England was on a rebuild year. I think that was kind of widely known and accepted. So while we had to be on our game there, we weren't like worried that we weren't going to win the game if we round it. We felt like we had good chances. So as the event went on, and we got paired in the France on round 4. Sorry, Kitty. We kind of went into it with feeling pretty good, right? I mean, I think that the deployment was a good deployment for us. Terraform was good for them, I felt like, with a lot of their list designs. But our comp felt generally pretty good, at least as far as we were concerned, into their comp, right? A lot of what they were doing, and kind of like we were both trying to come up with ways to beat the knight meta without taking knights. And it felt like they, from our perspective, they had kind of zagged when we zigged, and that put us in a spot which was pretty advantageous. So we felt like, I think, I'm not going to say we felt overconfident, because we definitely didn't feel overconfident. We knew this was going to be probably the hardest round. They're defending champions, right? They know what they're doing. But we definitely felt pretty good coming into it from a like army to army level.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe like I mean, I get them. We have the matrix of both countries, so I mean, let's maybe look through the pairing, and then we look a bit at the matrix. And I mean, I know me and Nas have a lot to say.
Yes.
So we'll go. So let's start with the pairing. So basically, thanks Anthony, he gave me that. So they first defend. You first defend with Death Guard. I think you did that a lot, right? In the tournament.
Every single round.
Not every single round. No.
Really?
Yeah. I first defended into Poland, and then I think we did something else another round too. But for certain, it was on every round though.
Yeah. And they first defend with Red Slot, their Votan player. They attacked you with Kron and Recon Guard. You took the Kron, and you attacked them with the GSC and Eldar. They took the GSC, because obviously Eldar is bad for Votan.
Yeah.
Germany, no, I'm trolling. Then we have you defend with Wolf, they defend with Guard. They attack with Berserk, the 80 Berserk and the by CSM. You took the Berserker, and then you attack with Eldar and Tyson. They took the Eldar. And then you third defender with Vanilla, with World Eater. They attack with Death Guard and Aspectos. You refuse Aspectos and take the Death Guard. And then you defend with... they defended with Olivier, with Spaceful Gladius. And you attack with CSM Tyson. They took the CSM. And then in Forgotten, you have EC, so Lennon versus Sako on Bile, and yourself against Aretas on Craftworld. So that is how it ended up as the rounds. When you look at the estimation, so you can see on both rows, I took basically from the matrix that are there, I took every estimation and put it back so we can understand a bit better. Yeah. So what was the feeling, Brian, when you went out of the pairing? I mean, I suppose like John make a little bit of a speech or something to tell you what to do, or I mean, at least how the pairing went.
I think I'm going to try and navigate this because I think this is a sticking point. One of the learning things that we have for this year is exactly how the pairings went for this round. Because I know I personally felt like and feel like American pairings is one of our strengths, right? And I felt like that wasn't the case as much in this round. And I think that as the pairings were materializing, it felt that way, right? But there's some good reasons for some of these, I think. And if you look at I guess I look at the results of the games, and I generally feel like our data was pretty good, which is what kind of makes it a little frustrating, right? Is like I feel like where we had the matchups and where they ended up weren't wildly off, with the exception of one particular one, which I'm going to blame Nas for specifically when we get to it.
Dude, they both have the right one. Nico's got it as a loss, dude. I don't have to tell you.
And I think, and I think that it was one which we, for the first time in my experience with Team USA, we lost properly just in the pairing. So, and I felt like that as it was happening, when we decided not to push this, from the very first pairing, when we decided not to put, if we go back to the pairings, I think there's two key moments that I feel like were very important moments. The first one was frustratingly both involve Recon Guard, right? So I feel like the first one was when we chose to take Krons instead of Recon Guard. I think we should have just taken the Recon Guard, accepted that it's going to get a win of some kind. It's Terraform, maybe it's Flippy. It's possible that we could, if the Death Guard went first, we could even find a way to carve through him enough. There could be a game there, but like kick the Krons back, because we knew that our melee armies like take the Krons out back and just like shoot them in the head with a shotgun, right? It's just like not pretty. They don't want anything to do with it, right? And that's a matchup we actively want to pin. So when that didn't happen, that's when I personally at least felt like, we weren't quite working out how I wanted it to. But I still trust the pairings guys. They know what they're doing. They have a macro plan in mind. The other moment when I feel like it kind of went wrong is even after that decision point. It's not crazy to be like, we have a win here, we have a loss here, let's take the win. It doesn't seem that crazy. But at the other decision point, I think, is the recon into as a defender, as their second defender. And that's when we put up myself, who we felt like had a pretty good game into it, and then Nick. And so I think that one of the reasons we gave Nick here is that we were trying to find a home for him, right? And he had practiced this game against Nas, and felt like the game that you guys had reached a point where the game you had found a path to kind of a draw, and it was, or even a win potentially, but like definitely like he kind of pulled it back to a draw to be conservative, and like that was something that could be played like that. I think what we should have done was just put up the EC Emperor's Children, exactly. Emperor's Children and T-Sons. Emperor's Children and T-Sons or Cult or any number of different armies would have been pretty good here. And I think those are the two key moments where that really didn't,
I guess, materialize for you.
Exactly. That's where I think we really lost this pairing, and those two decision points. The other ones don't seem that crazy, right? I mean, we like my game into the Aspect Host swung down a bit. John's game swung down a bit. Not that crazy, but like,
I mean, we're gonna
talk
about that a bit later, but let's come back of what you say. I mean, I'm doing the pairing for Belgium, so like when I look at those pairing, indeed, like especially when I look at those matrix, I think sending El Nanavati into Recon make quite a lot of sense, right? Especially if you find that pass to a draw, because like when you look at his matrix, he has like CSM he don't want to see. The Berserk is a hard 0. The Gladius, I don't know if it's actually that red. I mean, maybe with his list, I guess it was probably harder. He know what he's doing. So like he had like 3 red, so it quite makes sense to attack with Eldar, right? Especially if you get your draw, and also especially if you're not sure too much of those green, maybe like so like. It felt like it was a correct choice. I would have probably attacked not with you, Brian, because if we look at your pairing matrix, you have like a pretty green matrix overall. I would have attacked with something like piles with CSM, because also like remove the red from the matrix is always what you want to do. So I don't think it was that much of a hard. I think hearing from other podcasts, I think basically Nick had an instruction to push quite early or something like that, and that's what when he went down is he tried to go for a big win, like a bigger win that he needed to, and got crushed. Which
I think he had anywhere between a 6 and an 8, probably more in that 7 space on the board, and then was instructed that he needed to push, and then that push didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, because I also saw Nico hit a 12-inch charge, by the way, and Nick lost his backfield because of the push.
Yeah, but to be fair, like I think in theory, Nick would have held the 6 to 8, which would have been probably something you're happy as the team, because Nick realistically have a lot of chance to get 0 in this round, or like I don't think it's that much of a bad. Like I think first defender with Death Guard, we already talked a bit that in private, was quite a mistake, because I agree with you when you say that the Kron was the croquette of the round. You wanted to get a hard win out of the Kron because you had so much blue, and like Terraform is actually not a great mission for Kron, generally speaking. I feel so like you should have probably indeed not give like a chance for the Kron to go out against something that basically they can win normally. Like because I see the Death Guard as a green, but in my opinion, it's always like a small loss for Death Guard. So
I mean, worst case is like a draw. So the thinking behind, I guess, the Death Guard going down with the Knights is that it's really good on its board as it's always going to be, but just like Liam says, you give an out to the armies that you want to pin, because they can actually play those games for a close result. Like you can pin the recon guard with the EC and the T-Sons and Fulgen. You can also do the exact same thing with the Crons, but by defending with the Death Guard, you give those armies a way to get out early and not get caught by you in the scrum. Because if those armies are stood there in the scrum, it gets a lot harder. So you're more incentivized to defend with armies that they can't just attack for free. So like with either yourself, the EC, or even maybe the Colts. I think you would probably be the better option in that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, we did the same mistake as Team Belgium when we faced France. We first defended Death Guard because we didn't have any solution, and it ended up being bad because we also wanted to pin the Necron and we couldn't because
he got out.
We managed to pin the guard, but not the Necron, and they were the only green row in our matrix against France. So we should have play a bit safer and sacrifice more people early on, which ended up happening anyway in the later pairing because we didn't have any green left in the pairing. So, and we did the same mistake, and I think it was probably a mistake to first defend Death Guard against France, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall, I would say that I think some of my feedback actually for this year was that it felt like in this round in particular, and I think Pumbaa talked about this a little earlier too in that earlier conversation when we talked about the mathematics of it and all that, right? Is there's a bit of the art in here as well as the science, right? And I think the art here is recognizing the players and kind of, as I phrase it in my feedback form, like the forest through the trees, right? Like there are certain armies that we want to pin, we want to get big wins at, and I felt like we became a bit of a slave to the matrix in this pairing process as opposed to kind of missing that larger picture. At least how it played out. Now, again, I wasn't next to them when they're making decisions, so I don't know if I'm sure they had very good reasons for doing what they did in the moment. I still have every faith in them as pairs. It was just in that moment, like looking back on it as an armchair quarterback, right? It's like that's what it feels like to me, right? It feels like we didn't appreciate the fact that hey, we want this. We don't just want to win against these crowns. We want to send them to Jupiter, right? And like we need to kick them back so that happens, right? And how do we make that happen and engineer certain things and play the players as well as the armies on this matrix?
Yeah.
And how often do you feel like you do that? I guess Liam, when you're pairing, right? How often are you considering the player that is behind the army and like weaknesses maybe in their matrix where we really want to exploit to find those big wins and kind of make sure that it happens versus playing the actual matrix itself?
So me, I do the opposite, but on the opposite way, I do the pairing knowing my player, and often I will disregard the matrix because I know my player, I know he's not confident, I know etc. Because I know my player relatively well. I play a lot with them and I train them a lot. So I did it happen a lot that I took the wrong choice if you look at the maths at the matrix, but it was the correct choice if you talk about the human. And I mean, we are not hiding that right now. The Belgium strategy is to try to put me on a good matchup where I can push and bring those points to the team. So often I would put myself probably in a better position and sacrifice some of my teammates, but they are aware of that and they are okay with that, so that I could take the player I knew I could play, the player that I knew would play in the line I like, and don't go into the player I know that he can just bunker and not move. If I know a player that I know is a really defensive player and he can just not play the game and play for a 6 reliably, I would rather go into the more risky play of facing the player that is going to score, that want to score a lot of points because he used to score a lot of points, and try to go at that kind of player.
And then
I mean, I try at least.
Yeah, no, it works against Saka and it works against me when you do it. So
so you roost them.
Rushed.
I mean,
Rush.
I played, not necessarily, but I don't want to get in a game state where there is nothing happening at the table and we are both staring at each other. So I either play against as aggressive player as me, where I know that it's going to be really explosive, and where I'm going to try to be able to leverage the Eldar arsenal to win, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Liam, I did want to ask while we're here, that third row, what army is that?
Which one?
The third row there. Which army is that?
GSE.
Yeah.
GSE.
What's the full name for that army?
The Jenny Stealer cult.
Yes.
The best.
Favorite pronunciation ever.
It's just the best.
Thank you.
I mean, stop maybe looking too much at the metrics of USA. Let's look a bit at the metrics of France, because I mean, we look because we see here that, I mean, while some of the pairing match, right? For example, I think the best example, Sacco and Lennon, they both understand the Venom army. I mean, they both play EC, I guess that helped, and they both knew, like Sacco knew it, he was going to dare to lose, and John knew he was there to win. So I guess that it's not surprise. We have like, but we have, and like for example here and here, both of your players knew they were going to lose, and both of their players knew they were going to win. I mean, at the end, like Matt only got the 11 into Alex, which is probably not as much. Maybe it's more like a small win than a win, but that's detail. And then we had, like, for example, the League of Wotan against the GSC. They were both aware it's going to be a draw. But then we have quite a bit of difference, right? So we already talked a lot about Nick versus Petit Nico against the Astra, but we still have some big change, and we already changed. Let's talk maybe about you, the big win against the Eldar. So
I had a win. That's what green is win. Blue is big win.
Yeah.
So I think the French had a big win against me, right? That's a big win for them.
Yeah.
No, that's that's
win for
them. Yeah, a win for them is like a 13 or a 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a small win is like a petit win. Petit win. That's like small win is like 11 to 12.
Yeah. Yes. So I think I still think that the game is pretty is almost impossible for Thousand Suns to lose. I played the matchup 3 times at WTC. I didn't lose it any of them. I drew once, then I got a 12, then I got 11. In the first 2 games, I went first, which was a whole set of diff. I also, in all those games, when I went out to kill their chaff, which is a pivotal moment, right? I killed none of their chaff, right? For example, into my game against Matteo here, I on my secondaries, for example, as well. Like I came out to kill 4 chaff pieces, I killed 0. On my secondaries, I got a 0, a 0, and a 2. And like all that's happening, and I'm still coming out of this with the result that I have. And this is a matchup which I have played probably 15 times, right? I'm very familiar with it. So I think this is also, I talked about, like, I felt like I could have been more aggressive. I think I could have been much more aggressive here, right? This is one of the maps where I feel like I was supposed to be taking a page out of the Liam Vissel handbook and taking Magnus and sacking him very early to blow up the Wave Serpent and force the army to just engage. Because when they engage, you kill them at such an absurdly fast pace that if they are forced to fight you properly, then their models just they don't have the ability to control the tempo like they want to. But what actually ended up happening in my 3 games that I played, and in this game, was I set myself up to maybe go for like a turn 3 push. The hope being that, turn 2 I kill their chaff, and then turn 3 I killed their serpent, and then turn 4 I table them, and turn 5 I score a bunch of points. And instead what happened was I didn't kill their chaff, so it became turn 3 I'm finishing off their chaff and also trying to push, and then it kind of pushed the whole tempo back a full turn, which is why that 10 instead of a 12, it's why that 12 instead of a 14, why that 11 instead of a 13 space happened, I think. Which I think, not to say that I got everything, I think everything right, despite the score series thing, I didn't appreciate that failure condition existed, which could have pushed it down. So that probably should have been a green trending yellow as opposed to just a green. But obviously, Liam, you're an Eldar guy here. So what do you think? Because obviously Matteo is playing your list, right? You guys worked on together.
Yes. So 2 parts here. I mean, and you talked about it. I think me as the Eldar player that played Tyson, and I did practice a bit Tyson. I mean, I didn't play it 15 times. I think I played it like 5 to 6 times. But I did win all of them as well. And it felt like it's really favored to Eldar for almost kind of the same reason, is that I don't struggle to kill you at all, actually. And the Fire Dragon are actually not a big component here. I just need to use the Fire Dragon to kill maybe 1 Mutalith, and after that, I can just kill all you chaff And like basically the 30 hawks are kind of pinning Magnus in place so that I know I can kill Magnus at any time I want if he become to be slightly aggressive. And I can kill Magnus while killing in the same turn 20 rubric. Like, so in my game, what I was finding is that I could like just play with the chaff and keep my chaff longer than the Tyson and be able to have then that explosive turn that would bring me in the fight and actually win.
It's really interesting because I feel like when I played my games, my ability to play passive was so much better than yours because I have things like the Zangor Shaman and popping out of rhinos, like Thanos snapping a squad of void dudes and then jumping back inside of a rhino and then forcing you to have to do something about that while you had to like give up an actual asset every single time. Now, obviously, the part that I didn't get was that when you roll Doombolt, you roll a failed Doombolt, which is what happened. But I definitely, it did feel like if the plan goes correctly, which was a pretty high chance that the plan goes correctly, but if the plan goes correctly, then the T-Suns are playing a much more consistent passive game than you, burning down your resources better than you can burn down mine.
I feel like it's not true, but because
I just to chime in here, because we also had like this game where I think like our Eldar player thought it was good for the T-Suns, but like our T-Suns thought it was good for the Eldar. So it's actually the opposite of what you two are saying. And then when we've actually ended up testing the game, it was just a 10 to 12 almost on either side, but a bit more on the T-Suns favor. So I just think the matchup in its nature, because both armies can do something that's actually quite similar to the other, and has ways of executing it. A lot of it comes down to those minutiae with the dice rolls. Does Dimbot go off? All right, cool, that's the diff point. Oh, it doesn't go off. It slips the diff point. Do I kill this Mutalith with this Fire Dragon squad? Oh, it spiked the Invans and feel no pains. Like, I just think the game itself and in that matchup is just a little bit more, I guess, drawish than what both players give it credit for, since both sides think it's actually a win in
I can see that. I do also think
at least that's from the outside in.
But what I feel also when you mentioned that, Brian, is that you did practice into Eldar and you were ready to play that match, where I think most of the Eldar players were actually not. Like, I know for a fact that like the French one play a bit against Tyson, but not against like main Tyson player. He played against Tyson player that took Tyson as a first ride, kinda, which does mean that he was not ready to face Tyson really. And I think like Mason also asked me to play against Tyson the week before WTC, but I couldn't make it because I was too busy. So I couldn't train with him. So I don't think he got like also a lot of training to Tyson. And I think like probably what happened is you were probably the better player on the table at that time, like for that matchup specifically, that knew the match better than your opponent. That's why you got those up. But I still really think that if the Eldar player know how much aggressive he can be, and I think that because for me the game is explosive. Like during turn 1 to 2 or 3, it's not gonna happen much, but when the explosion or when the rush is gonna happen, and if it happens from the Eldar side, it is gonna be favored Eldar for sure. That's
interesting. I do think that kind of one theme here, which I think is true from all three of our takes, is that, and I think this is generally true for these armies, is that the Thousand Sons and the Eldar armies in this meta, to me, felt like at a minimum, like two of the most skill expressive armies in the space right now, right? So like you have the ability to outskill your opponents if given the opportunity, right? Or out experience your opponent, right? You have the ability, you have most agency in a lot of these armies. And I feel like what that probably means is that when you are the better player on either side of the matchup, or the more experienced player in that matchup is probably a better way of phrasing it, because I played against really good players on the Eldar side. That to your point, you gain a disproportionate advantage than otherwise, right? In your case, Liam, in your reps, you're the better player on your side of the table in any of those reps you're putting in, right? So if you're going to be able to exercise that to a large degree, I think quite a bit, right? So, and I think,
and to be fair, I know Tyson really well as well, so that helped. But I think the knowledge of probably right, it's supposed to be drawish, and if you put both players that have like 100% knowledge of the match, both will be kind of stuck, and they won't really like they will, and it will end up as a draw because they will be really cagey, pre-measure everything, etc. Where maybe like if none of those two know the match, it's it can be like devastating, because like if he like move that unit too far, too close, suddenly it's like, you know, the trumpet for the rush, right? It's the start
exactly.
of the rush.
Yeah, if you make the wrong trade, if you are a little more, you make a small mistake, both armies are incredibly capable of exploiting the other's positioning mistake to the point where it's going to be a massive blowout in one direction or the other. I can definitely see that being the case.
Mm-hmm.
Which probably, as you said, means it's a draw in the end.
We're probably gonna, Jonathan, we probably not gonna do that, because I'm not playing Eldar for like 3 months. I'm born out of Eldar.
Yeah,
So like
look at my title. I'm out of Hogwarts, dude. I'm no longer a wizard.
But yeah. So
any other ones that stand out to you here? I mean, obviously, so like the two ones that really stand out to me are the Astronaut Armor, as we said, and then I think the Death Guard we got wrong, and the Necrons got a bit right, but it was also probably a 9/11 is just kind of a draw, so they're both probably kind of wrong.
I don't know, because I think it's consistently 11 for the Kron. Like we got like we did the same, and he got a 12 into us, and it's basically like, I think it's consistently gonna be like a 11 or a 12.
Yeah,
in my opinion, for the Kron, and like sometime a 10. But
we're
like
talking about the Necron's Death Guard. God, I've got opinions on this.
Yeah,
but like,
what are your opinions, 12?
Huh?
I said, what are your opinions, 12?
I'll let Liam finish because I interrupted him.
No, I mean, I said all of that I had to say. Like, it's slightly favor to the Kron all the time.
Yeah,
and like
much.
we had a Kron on our we had a Kron in our roster, and we basically knew that we were going to attack every single Death Guard that we're going to go in defense with Kron.
Yeah. I think, I mean, like, Necrons is still one of those armies where, like, they just were very good at essentially playing against Death Guard, because if you had the Silent King, you just ignored all of their rules. You just told them, this doesn't affect me, this doesn't affect me, this doesn't affect me. And it was actually very hard for the Death Guard to, like, ever one-tap something. And actually, a lot of the time, when you actually did the maths, like I spoke with Arnaud about it, like after the event was over, his whole role was there to play Death Guard if they first defended with them or defended with them, and get like anywhere between a 10 to 12 against them, just the entire event, and that was his role. Because, yeah, it was just always Necron favored. They just had all of the tools to be able to play against it, in terms of the data sheets, in terms of the stratagems that they had access to. Like, it was actually very hard for the Death Guard to get like an actual result out of it, because the Necrons was actually better at pushing the expansion against that army compared to vice versa, because a squad of Death Shroud charging Wraiths doesn't actually kill enough Wraiths, because they'll spend a strat to come back, and then they'll spend a CP for extra AP and strength, which means now they're winning the Death Shroud on 4s. You know, they'll hand you like 7, 8 saves, and then you fail 3 or 4. That's 1 to 2 Death Shroud dead, and then the next turn in combat, as you get shot by pistols, you use a couple more. So you just like actually lose the attrition game, which is the one that Death Guard usually aims to win to actually get their small wins themselves. But they can't do that against the Necrons.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's something else interesting I kind of noticed too, just looking at least our side of the matrix. You know, if you put Nick's game aside and say that was kind of the push, and then a bit of like maybe not the one, you only had the one rep, which wasn't as good. The only real matchups that kind of aren't off matrix, or the only matchups that's truly off matrix, is this Death Guard game, which also is the only one that has a question mark and wasn't played, right? So I think that's just kind of a sign that even at the level that we're playing at, you just don't have, the search space is so huge. You can't play all these games, right? And these question marks in these matchups and these rounds are so dangerous, you know, where like that's where you can lose rounds off of stuff like this. You know, I mean, not that Andrew's the reason we lost the round, but it was like, you know, that's where things can go weird.
At the end of the day, I think Andrew probably played it correctly. It's more, I think if you would have known it was a loss and it was a red on the pairing, you would have probably changed the pairing process and you would not have put the Death Guard as the first defender. I think that is like the main conclusion out of that. And I think, and not getting that juicy Necron for like John or Anthony was probably like what lost you the round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I agree.
because there was a real, basically, possibility here of just like the round is a draw. Like Nick doesn't push, he gets his like 8, and then you're like 1 or 2 points off a draw.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
losing side of
John gets the slightly bigger win, and John also had a push, which went kind of wrong. He
Yeah.
was probably looking at a 14 or 15, like that could be the draw there. I get a couple more points, and I go second in that game up. A game I pick up at least 2 diff in the game the way it played out. You know what I mean? It's like there's definitely points that are on this board where we could have draw, even with this pairing cycle, the draw was still on the table.
Yeah.
But I think what look at me is that it feel like, I mean, I don't know about like the Anthony versus Death Guard game, if it's like logical or if it was supposed to be, because I mean it was on Anthony's table, so I guess like the draw was expected. Like probably the French had that wrong. It was probably more a draw. Then, but it feel like overall the French, and obviously there is still that Eldar kind of Eldar Tisson debate that I'm probably a bit like I was talking to Aretas and telling him that Tisson was fine for him. So like that's maybe like we did some of the estimation together. So like I don't think we talked about you specifically, but like in general I was so. But also that it felt like both teams had like a pretty accurate matrix, but that the French had a better pairing overall. Like,
which is pretty cool because again, I feel like in past years, a lot of the times you can look at one team's matrix and there's like one massive blood red NOS spot where the team gets it wrong, and that results in a round win or loss, right? You know, some angels come down and maybe like hand the Americans a 20 or something like that.
No, mate, it came down for France this time.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean,
but it's cool. It shows again it's a very, very interesting space when information is kind of known and the pairings are and the teams are armies are rather balanced, right?
Yes.
It really puts a lot more emphasis on the actual pairing process than I feel like existed before, where I felt like it was much more of an information game, and this felt like the information game was pretty accurate. But then it actually was the pairings that were things that done.
Yeah, I mean the information caused the error in pairing. I think like it was like that's, but yeah.
But even then, it was like a small information difference, right? Again, putting Nick's game aside with that Andrew game, which dramatically shifts the entire pairing process, which then resulted in the result. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think France, like one of the strengths of them is probably they are really good in pairing, and like I played them at this event, right? And we played 6 other strong nation, and like a lot of them were seed 1 as well, but it didn't felt like the pairing were as good as when I played against France.
Yeah.
But yeah. Boom. I mean, I don't know if any of you want.
Listen, all I'm gonna say.
Aretas is in the chat.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is that Petit Nico had it as a small loss, so technically, you know,
yes.
I wasn't wrong. You know?
Hey, Nas, did he talk to you about that game?
Maybe you shouldn't.
Are you the reason why both these matrices are wrong?
What do you mean, dude? No, but that is
a little French spy out here telling people the wrong information. It was an English sabotage, is what it was. He just knew what was gonna.
No, German sabotage, dude. What do you mean?
I mean,
but
maybe we can look a bit of to have a bit of a fun, like, because when you look only at the pairing, like if you look only at the match that happened in pairing, I would say both teams had pretty accurate, but there were still like a bunch of, I think,
there was a lot of spots where we very much disagreed. Yeah.
Yeah, weird stuff in every count, like in both matrices. Like I mean,
like the Necrons having the draw against the EC coterie is like.
Yeah, it's still
it's like
okay.
it's.
Necrons
still
has a
think it's
small win against Berserker Warband. Like I don't think that's true. I don't know. I don't know much about Necrons, but I know that they don't love when they take axes to the face. That's like one of their weaknesses. So.
I'm gonna defend Ashard, and he's probably the strongest Necron player in the world right now. I mean, he is, no doubt. I mean, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, me, it's when I look at the, for example, it's when I look at the Matrix, for example, I don't understand how your Eldar is expecting to get a draw into their Eldar. I think it's a huge win for the Aspect Warrior here.
Yeah, like when I think one of the things that surprised me the most when I saw the list for, well, at least like Nick's list, is that he had a few more champions, but he didn't have 30 Hawks. That was like the first thing that came to mind, because that's what I think almost every single team took, or at least took 25. I think Germany took 25.
Well, how much of 30 Hawks was a direct translation from Pyra, right? I mean, this isn't necessarily something which I think was like every team did. I think it was just the teams that were at Pyra did it because, frankly, Liam did it, right, and did really well.
Yeah,
I don't think it was an obvious choice.
It was Liam and Life, yeah, but even then, right? Like, that's fair, but it was still just so powerful. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it was great.
Oh yeah.
I think Nick even said it when he saw the list. He was like, "Oh yeah, that was something which maybe we wanted to try." And I think he kind of was thinking about it towards the end of the list sub, but
not enough time to test it.
It was just have time to properly test it, right? And it is a radical shift where it's like if you're not going to have the time to put it in, and at a certain point, it makes more sense to kind of lock in the list with the reps because there's going to be pay off so much more at the event.
Because when I see your Matrix against it, I would say there is quite a lot of disrespect there. I mean, I think like Wolf is a small loss. EC, that's correct. It's favor EC, but if the Eldar play well, it's actually a draw. GSC, that's correct. This one, I still think it's not correct, but whatever. Vanilla, I guess that's correct. I think CSM, it's a lot more table reg than it is, because if it play against the Eldar player, Eldar will just destroy CSM on the open table, like on a relatively open table.
You say that, but I've played that game against both him and Myson because they both wanted the CSM bio game.
No, I'm talking about CSM. It's not Bile. It's the Hackers.
It's Chaos
version. Okay.
Bile is super bad for Eldar. I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
But
the curse is a bit more manageable.
Yeah, Hackers is more manageable. Then Death Guard is actually kind of a gambled turn one. Like if the Eldar go first, he can actually go for a 15 against the hammer, and if it goes second, he play for 8. And then the Eldar, I think the mirror was clearly favored to the Aspectos one. But yeah, I mean, but to be fair, like the French had the same problem into Thyssen. Their Matrix into Thyssen were just wrong. Like, for example, I know, like, for example, the Astra matchup, I got the story. I knew that they trained it, but the problem is they trained it against a player that didn't play Thyssen, and he didn't play Thyssen optimal and lost. But I think it was indeed a win to Thyssen pretty clearly.
Yeah. I was quite surprised, for example, that Alex put his CSM bio list as a draw on the T-Suns, considering he plays T-Suns. Because that to me it's just very free for the Thousand Suns.
Actually, I don't know. Did you play that much? Because
several times against Anthony, who I think is a pretty good pilot, right?
Probably, but I don't know. In testing, I saw that game happening, and like I'm a CSM player, and I see some line where the Thyssen is in struggle a bit. Like I think Alex play in mine, he had like table choice a lot of the time, and on the table of the like. There is not a lot of army that can just go into Bile that is on his table and win.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like they just didn't have enough stuff, right? I mean, and if you're playing into a Thousand Suns army, where on turn 3 you're playing with Berserk or your Possessed Bricks because you are out of stuff to score points with, that feels like a matchup which is going to be extremely tough to win.
What do you say? It has quite a few things, and it also have like the unit like the Warp Talon that help a bit in that regard. He had like the Alex list was quite MSU. Huh? It has like a lot of random units. Like, for example,
4 trading units and then the Warp Talons on top of that.
Yeah, and the Chaos Lord as well. The Chaos Lord is like the Interminator armor is like super tanky and allow you to score a lot of points. Like, I mean, I played against it at WTC and like the Chaos Lord like scored him a lot of points. Like I was like, shit, it's annoying. Even if you
the other two matchups that really surprised me looking at this is Nico having it as a small win for him. That's surprising based on what Nas told me. I didn't actually play this matchup, but I mean, based on what Nas said, it was like completely free for Thousand Suns. I don't know if you want to speak to it.
No, but it's what I told you. I think it was probably due to.
He played this one. Okay, gotcha. And then Tankers, World Eaters also were very surprising. To me, that was like, if I don't lose on turn 1, then the game is impossible for me to lose, right? I can definitely lose on turn 1 if I don't position properly. I went through enough iterations with Anthony being like, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, for me to be like, okay, I got to play this correctly, deploy correctly. Once that got past that exact stage, there's nothing they can do, just the winning.
It feels like they had the same problem as you against the Eldar, is that their matrix into Tyson was just not accurate enough.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah, agreed.
And they got lucky, they managed to... I mean, basically, it's weird, but both inaccurate matrix face each other in the end.
Yes. Just unfortunately, ours were on the wrong side of the inaccuracy, I think. It's interesting. Yeah, they had the EC right, I think, which is cool. Any other matchups here which arose which you find particularly stand out as what at least what you would consider correct or wrong? The Chaos Cults, I was a little surprised by. Some of those matchups I totally agree with, but like, so CSM, actually, no, not really. No, it feels pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I know Aretas were not confident either into Chaos Cult. I mean, me, I would have put like something like a green with stable choice, and if not, I would have played that to a draw. But I mean, I'm pretty delusional a lot of the time. So.
I wasn't going to say it. And then I think that Olivier had a win in the Zerker. I feel like that was kind of a small win, maybe. I played that in, I think, potentially a draw. Thousand Suns, I think, was a small win for him, but again, I'm not winning that game. It's not a game I want.
Really?
Yes, obviously,
I would have think that was a okay game for Tyson.
I've played into Space Wolves a lot. Yeah, I've played into Space Wolves a lot. Their damage profiles and Stormlance's or even Gladius too falls in the same category. They're too dynamic, and their shooting was like at any given time, a single predator with rapid fire has a 1 in 3 chance of just one tapping Magnus, and that's not a game that I can realistically play because I'm never going to get to a state of the game where that's not going to be true that the 1 in 3 exists, because they don't have to use all their predators in one go, right? So they can. There's always going to be a time when I go out to use Magnus, and they'll be able to have a reasonable shot of killing him at range for free. That makes it really difficult to play.
I have a question for you, actually, because I think I didn't like your list, actually, when I talk about that, because how do you felt about Mutalit? Because I felt like they were us, but how do you felt? Because,
I think I like Mulets. I think 2 are good. I didn't like my list in the end, but I think the difference was what was different about it? There was, all I know is I wish I had more Zangor Shamans. Zangor Shamans were the single best thing in my army, and I only had 1, and that makes me sad, because they were incredibly good, and they were I ended up dropping down to 1 in order to fit the second Doombolt on a Exalted Sorcerer on disc, the loan up, and over the course of the entire event, I didn't use I think my guy was attached to the goats only in a single game. Because it was just better to not have him attached almost every other time. So he should have just been like the Exalted Sorcerer on foot or something, because when it comes down to it, the damage buff from one of the foot characters that you're replacing is not so significant that you would rather just have that, if that makes sense. So I think it would have just been better with more Zangor Shamans is what I was missing. And potentially more foot Zangors too. They were the second best thing in my army.
Yeah, Foot Zangor, I like them a lot. I think they're great. I've been playing Tyson a bit as well, and they feel a lot like cultist vibe from the index, and I didn't saw a lot of players using them as a cultist vibe, which they are a bit more expensive.
That's why every time I would see them when I watched some other people play the army, I would see them using Zangors to like screen their backfield, and I'd be thinking to myself like, these guys have scout, like they should be in your opponent's
Going
face as quickly
forward.
as possible. Yeah, exactly.
They have the scout keyword for a reason. If something has a scout keyword, it's got it for a reason. It's
Yeah.
meant to be.
Just
pushed
be
forward.
aggressive, control the board, control space, set up your staging, go for a kill turn. You know, and that's
Exactly.
that's what he
That's probably a key component of the decent gameplay. Bon, I think we are good about that. Huh? We covered a bit everything. I don't know if any of you have something to add.
Not particularly. Not too much.
What I propose is we do the plug. Someone of us, I don't know who, and
Brian.
we then jump to the show question.
Brian, you're up.
Do you feel confident? No. I mean, I can do it.
No, as much as I would thoroughly enjoy hearing you do it, Liam, let me attempt to get through it, and then we will hopefully get a script for next time, and I'm going to have you do it. I guess we want to support the work that we're doing on Patreon. That would be fantastic. So go to Patreon and find us there.
Check
we
the
also
description.
great. And we also have a metadata dashboard, which I believe Cliff recently updated, actually. You can check that out on our StatCheck website. We offer coaching services with a number of the best players in the world, two of which are in this chat. With Liam and Nas. We also have Innis, and who else am I missing? Tyvis and Pumbaa is still coaching, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, you have Tyler, I think.
Oh, Tyler's. Oh, yeah, Tyler's fantastic. Highly encourage people going to him. Then we have some StatCheck merch, and then go through our sponsors. So one of our sponsors is Red Dragon, where StatCheck patrons get 50% off the entire store. Incredible store run by a great guy. Then check out another own sponsors in Saltire Games, store up in Scotland. I've been there a number of times. It's another great group of guys, fun events, cool swag, and they have some really cool MDF stuff that they've been putting out as well. You can shop some of the WC terrain that we played at the event, made by Wayland Yutani, and save 5% with the code in the description. And then if you're looking for some GW style US Open terrain and to get ready for WCW, check out J15 Games, a sponsor of Team USA this year as well. Also sponsoring StatCheck. He's got some really great stuff. I'm looking to pick some stuff up for Ignite, so that's awesome too. And then I think that's it. So I'm going to call that a pseudo success.
Let's go. Congrats.
You did it, Brian. I'm so proud of you.
Then for the show question, alors, I mean, Ines said it a lot. So the way of asking the question is you can obviously ask it on the Discord, or we're going to ask the super chat. And if we have a bit of a time, we'll ask some of the question in the chat, but we'll start with the one in the chat, in the Discord chat. So. Okay. So, first question from Ines, but I think we already answered that a lot. So, was Ines mid the whole time? I mean, the answer is
no.
Yes, I guess. But that's good enough.
Yeah, I don't know if they were. I don't know if they were mid, but were they more volatile than we thought? I would say yes. So I think that's my take.
Okay. Next, Pumbaa is asking a question that is actually interesting. Why is France good? And let's start with that one, guys. I mean, I know a lot of the insights, so I'm going to let you answer that, and then I'll give you my idea. So, why do you think France are good?
From my side, and I think what makes France very good nowadays compared to when I first joined WTC, we played them and then they came 11th and then they've won the last 2 years. Is I just in comparison from what I can see is that they've essentially attending all of the 8-man team events out there, and there's a significant difference in having your player pool be exposed to that 8-man team event before actually going to WTC, because a lot of teams would usually, it's either Pyra, some practice or WTC for that to happen. So being able to go to those is massive. But also they're like significantly more deliberate with their lists and their roles. like you can clearly tell what some some lists are designed to do specific roles, and some of their lists are designed to hunt after specific matchups to get those bigger wins, and that's what they've done over the last 2 years that they've been successful with. Like Olivier and Tanker, screw with their lists. There's a dedicated role, play this, smash this, and then there's yeah, and like each army is clearly designed to do something very deliberately. Like it has a role. It's not just floating in kind of limbo spaces, like where this is just a good all comers list, which this would do well here and do well there. Like each list has a role to play against at least an archetype of army or visa specific type of list or faction, which I think makes them really well. And they really improved their pairings by importing a Bulgarian man.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of what Nas said as well. I also Olivier kind of broke a lot of this down with Nick in the in Art of War episode recently as well, and I think there's a lot of their also their infrastructure that France has, I think, goes a long way to helping them. With just how their whole country is kind of geared towards playing teams, playing WTC. It's really cool, and I think that gives them a big leg up because at least in the case of the US, we don't play on WTC terrain very often, right? So for a lot of our guys, especially our newer academy guys, they're coming in not having much teams experience because teams is picking up in the US, but still pretty new. A lot of times never having played on WTC terrain before. And then they are trying to make a starting roster where they're going to go play in an event where other countries are playing on it all year round, right? And in France's case, where they're playing teams all year round, and that's what they're obsessed with and they're really focused on, right? So they kind of come into this with this baseline, I think, which really puts them in a strong position, and then they leverage that really well.
Yeah, I think you resume pretty well. Like, I think their system of league make that basically they are playing the top 24. It's like the top 6 team in the country, so the top 50 players are always consistently playing each other all the time. Where you look at maybe event like, and it's for all the rank in the because they're only playing team pretty much. Where when you look at maybe like event like UKTC, well they are cool and they have a lot of strong player and like a lot of like a bunch of strong player, and it's the same in the US. The quality of the player is probably the same. It's just that when you go to those larger events, you often have like 4 rounds that are easier than the rest, I would say. Where in France they're actually always like hitting each other basically, and I think like that give a lot of experience on the long term as well.
Yeah, just always being able to play against someone of a high quality, not just in like practice games, but like when you actually go to an event, then it's like all of the way through. Whereas I think you hit the nail on the head there. Where if you go to a KTC event, like the top or to a GW event in the States, you'll play good players, but that's only after like you're going into round 4, round 5, realistically, or like top cut, you've run into your first tough game. Where otherwise you've played against people who you're just better than, so it doesn't act as too much of practice really.
Yeah, one other thing I think which is important, which I think is also something that you do, Liam, which you talked about in the pairing process, right? And listening to Olivier talk about it in terms of how they practice they have a really good bead, like a really good like the pulse on each individual player and the things that make them successful, right? And the way that they play. And I think that they use each player really well, and they're really cognizant of exactly what that player is good at, bad at, how they need to practice, how they need to be communicated to, and then they leverage that incredibly well, right? And I think that's something that you're also doing really well in Belgium, from the sounds of it. And I think that is something which, for example, we in the US could probably do much better. Certain players need to be talked to better, need to be trained better, or differently rather, not better, but just differently than other players. And then how we use them and what kind of matchups they're going into would also be really good to kind of really custom that.
It's also an advantage of being like a small group, like because the US, I don't understand really how it works, but I think you have like a bunch of players, and when you do a practice game, against like sometimes you don't only do practice game in between the 8 starting player, right? You do practice game against a lot of people, right? Where we have the same in France and in Belgium, like we basically, when we have the top cut, the top 8 to 10 people, when we are prepping for WTC, we are only playing those 8 to 10 people pretty much. And it get to basically me to prep WTC. I think I play every single one of my teammates 10 times. So as a captain, it helped, like, maybe not 10 times, but 5 times. And it helped to know their weakness, etc. in detail, so that I can indeed and the France do that over the course of the year, because they are doing all those team league face-off, where basically they will play each other and they will know, okay, that player have bad time when he's trying to push in that kind of matchup, etc. And yeah. Boom. And the second part of the question, which I actually like as well, is from Pumba, is, do you think it would be better to just bring the 8 army that your player trained the whole year, or just instead of focusing for the meta, or bothering about meta in team comp?
I 100% agree with that statement. 100%. Yeah. I feel like that's played out so many times as well in our stat check events that whenever we go like the stat check team, is we're just going to play the armies that we're the best at, establish a hard floor, and then try and beat them on the table. And every single time, nearly every single time, it works out. And I think that is something which hasn't really been tried to that level on the national level, but I think that it really should be and could be.
Yeah. I mean, we had the problem in Belgium, and I'm a bit of a tyran in my team. So sometimes I ask my player to play a list, and I think we did that in the past year a lot, where I was often building the list of 3 or 4 players and then giving them to that, or me and Guillaume, we were building the list together and then giving them, and it actually doesn't work. Even if you think, often bringing a suboptimal list but that your player is confident with, is a lot better than just bringing the optimal list, the meta stuff, when your player doesn't feel it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also real case examples that some of the successful teams or people who did well, right? John had the only EC, wasn't the meta list, but it's what he's been playing for a while. He was very confident on it. He knew it inside out. He did end up doing quite very well on it. I took the guard. Not many people took the same version of guard. I had 12 Borg, and I was very confident on it. I knew what it could do. I did that. You had Yo taking Demonkin. I think it was the only one in seed 1 taking Demonkin. There is definitely that element of player comfort that is actually up there, and I think more so in this meta compared to what is this year and this meta. I'd say over this year and a little bit over last year, compared to prior years at WTC, where the game is in a more healthy and balanced state. You can actually afford to do that because there's, no one had Tau, even though they're probably Tau specialists, or your guy from Israel and beat Brian round 1, but nobody else had Tau.
Almost made it.
There is an element of truth in that because of what the meta is and how open the game is.
Yeah, I guess it brings us to the next question that I think Jonathan have been spamming the chat for about 1 hour, and we should ask that. What about the Kroot?
Yeah, the Kroot are
Brian, you can answer this.
Yeah, they're an auxiliary race that play with the Tau. They kind of look like chickens. And I think that's really kind of the fluff that I know about them. Did you guys have any fluff you wanted to expand on? Or?
Yeah, I think they've got a null field around them, which makes them immune to psychic damage from dust boys, and because of that, they just go forward, and then stuff bounces off their inbounds and shooting, and then they kill the Thousand Suns. I think that's
the reality is that I'm going to shout out my opponent here. This is for those who aren't in on what is going to be a long-lasting joke, I'm sure. I played against Kroot Hunting Pack and lost against them round 1 into Israel. Couple details I think are relevant here. Number 1, the player that was playing it was a longtime veteran of Team Russia and an excellent player. And Typhus told me afterwards, one of the best Team Russian players.
Don't need context.
Nope, context is going to be important here just to shut JSJ up.
Context is for cowards.
But I think the actual answer though is that the Kroot were similar enough, I think, to why Space Wolves are a bad matchup for me, which is that their profiles are just a little in the wrong space for me to reliably kill them at the pace that I would need to. So against like Space Wolves, for example, there's a bunch of guys that are T6 with 4 bin von saves and like 4 wounds or something, have access to some minuses, something like that. With Kroot, it wasn't the minus is the wound, it was 5 wounds with the Kroot Toxes, right? Like that 5 wound breakpoint is huge. And then you also have the T6. So, and then he got the board that he wanted, and he was saying afterwards, like, this only happens on this exact board. You know, I think he had practiced it a bunch. So, yeah, I got chickened, and you know, it's cool because now I'm gonna chicken people. So
You got
watch out.
KFC'd, mate.
I did.
So next one. Well, Typhus is asking about your routine, Nassim, but your skin routine, your skincare routine. I think we're gonna pass that one because it's already late. But one day you will told us the secret, Nassim.
I wash my face when I wake up sometimes, and then or sometimes I just leave the house, and it works. Yeah.
And then there is a question that is really relevant to me from Logan. I mean, what is your preferred breakfast before the game when you went? But what is the best meal you had at any WTC? I guess. Oh, I was thinking at this WTC.
At this WTC, it's a race to the bottom. But I would say
McDonald's is pretty good.
Yeah, at any, I would say
the fried.
There's a crazy good burger place, right? In Mechlin.
Mechlin? Yeah. Beastie Burger. There we go.
Yeah, that
Beastie
place
Burger?
is great. I think it was Beastie. I can't remember. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
That place was awesome.
Dude, it had a massive queue going out.
Yeah, and Liam's favorite breakfast bottle, I'm going to answer for him, is the third of a wine bottle that he didn't drink the night before. That was sitting next to his table in the morning. So,
I mean, to be fair,
Liam doesn't wake up hungover; he wakes up drunk.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, what's happened at Pira, stay at Pira. But to be fair, this year I've been really like, I've been the good child. I've been eating a banana every morning, and that was it because I was not hungry, but I was forcing myself to eat. And I've been drinking not a lot. And they are asking which team would have placed higher if it went hungover. I mean, in the previous year, I would have said maybe Belgium, but this year we were pretty sober, so I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be the Irish, right? Or the Northern Irish, rather. Like, I don't even know how they did, but I promise you, if they weren't all drunk, they would do better, just as a rule. So,
those guys, time, dude. What do you mean?
Okay.
Oh, the Dutch as well, to be fair.
Yeah. The Dutch were giving up those. Did you drink stroopwafel?
Oh,
you don't know what stroopwafel is? It's the best fucking liquor in the world. They're giving it to every team they face. And this year we had the chance to face them for the first time. So generally we face them during the years, and they are giving up the small bottle. But because it was WTC, it was a big bottle this time. And it's so fucking good.
Remember when Liam said that he didn't drink too much and he was sober? So it's like, this is his version of don't drink too much and sober. I love it.
I mean, the beer there were basically water, so it was okay. Like, but yeah. At the end, we were drinking. That one was actually not bad. We were drinking not the beer, but the citron one, the lemon one. It was good. Oh yeah, and the Swedish. That's
the best. The best drink was I think it was the Romanians. They had the
rocket fuel. Oh
yes,
dude.
They had the like the alcohol in the glass where they grew the pear inside the glass. That was
dude,
that was good.
It's straight moonshine. It's like it's this much. Oh, because remember they tried to give some to Albin, me, and like they gave like this much to Albin, like, and I had to stop him because he was about to have it, and I took half of it, and like he was like had to stumble a little bit to back to his dorm. I was like, dude, like don't try to kill you.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, this was before he had to play in the morning as well. It was great.
And I know the Swedish are also like a good, but I suppose they were pretty sober during the event. I actually don't know, but the Swedish are good drinker historically.
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, it's how they come fourth all the time. It's that consistent fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Johnny is asking, how confident were we in our comp in the minute before list submission, and how did you feel after your comp after lists were revealed? Oof, I'm tired.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, I felt pretty good about it beforehand, and I felt really good about it afterwards, and I still feel really good about it. I feel like we made the right decisions with the information we had, and the information we had was pretty accurate to what we expected people to do, and they kind of took that. So, yeah, feel pretty good.
Yeah, same about it. We were happy, and I think the meta were not that surprising. So, like, we were also really happy with our comp.
Yeah, there was nothing that really surprised everyone. I think touched on it earlier, but the main one was like, I guess in hindsight, the IK could have been different. Just like the main one.
Would you say just the IK? That's the only difference you would make in your team's comp at all?
No, I also mentioned the Votan, dude. The Votan
oh,
just
the
had
Votan. Oh, okay.
Yeah, with attachment. That's
that's interesting. Okay.
We also have Nick that answer that ask what each of our team missed in this meta, but I think we already answered that it was basically nothing.
Yeah.
So outside of the IK, so we're gonna jump. Nick is asking that he want to play a pressure army in team, but Marine is taking. What should he play? I mean, I think we have someone that can answer you that. I mean, you have.
I feel like even in the meta right now, that orcs are still in a fine spot, right?
How did your game against Boris go again?
What was I? I was playing tactical, not warhorde, right? So I think warhorde is tactical's not melee pressure. I think he's asking for melee pressure. I think warhorde in melee pressure is still in a good spot. I don't think it's necessarily the best melee army in the game right now. I think that if you're looking for a team space, it's probably like EC or World Eaters are probably better. But I think that honestly, like any of the traditional melee armies, like truly melee pressure armies, are probably fine to take. I think they're all kind of doing similar enough things and are well enough positioned where if you are leveraging playing it well is kind of a theme through this entire episode, right? Is if you're playing it well and you know what you're doing with your army, you're going to do well with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, do you all think America IC was the right call? Were Host as broken are the sim, or was that the pairing? So, I mean, we already talked about TC, and I think we covered that a lot already. I think going with the army you're confident is, well, generally speaking, is almost always the right call. But the second part, I think we didn't talk about a lot. What about Host of Ascension? I think like it was one of the boogeymen as well of the meta, right?
Yeah, I think it was more like Host was created by its surroundings rather than Host create kind of like was one of the reasons because it was really good against Knights, and then like at least for us, Hosts was just had a very drawish matrix because a lot of the meta pressure armies got pushed out of the meta, so like it wasn't as concerned there. So like it could it always had like a baseline of a draw against most things, especially because when times get tough, I mean you saw Innes do it. You'll line up loads of idiots with high OC and go for 9-inch charges. You hit one of those, all of a sudden like the worst case the game's a draw. Hit another one, you're winning the game now.
And I think you bring Host as well, huh, as a comp, Brian, with Sam.
Yeah, and we there's some context here. We worked with Scotland, so we had Innes like directly to work with, and I think it's reasonable to say that Innes is at minimum one of the best host player in the world, right? And so we really and Sam is really good at playing hordes. That's kind of what this host army is doing. Maybe the regular sense of hordes, but he's able to leverage a lot of the micro plays that come up with hordes. He already had down because he played Endless Swarm. I think they were really good. I think that they were a great army. I think that had Sam had a little more time on it, he would have performed, even better than he did, and I think he performed pretty great. So, yeah, I think they were really, really good. and really useful as well.
Okay. Next question is, now that the dust is setting a bit, do you think that Death Guard is what expecting, and would you say that Hammer or Vivi or a Champion of Contagion end up being the best archetype? I mean,
think-
we already covered that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it did what we expected of Death Guard, which was like kind of being able to play anything to a small wing, pretty much. But did like I mean, obviously, I think the best like France had the best result with Death Guard with Virulent, but did it overall perform better than Champion or even or Hammer? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to say because there wasn't that many VV, and like VV was the best of performing Death Guard, I guess, if you technically look at it that way. But I think like people were expecting Hammer the most. People had like answers towards Hammer, as you could see with like the Necrons and like some of the other armies, but they weren't, I guess, as ready for the intricacies of like Cock, COC, and VV.
Us.
It's technically that's what it's short.
No, just stop it.
Then I have a question for you, Brian.
Yeah.
Have the returning starter been selecting for USI yet? I mean, you would be really good at that if it was the case. And with a 200-point nerf predicted, is the Tyson Terminator build the next move?
So no returning starters haven't been picked. Returning starters haven't even decided if they're playing Warhammer ever again. I think that our process really starts to solidify later in the year. We're gonna be voting for a captain again soon, and we'll see who all runs. I know, of course, John is going to be running again. So I'll be excited to see if assuming he wins, what his second year looks like. Then, as far as T-Sons is concerned, I mean, I know I'm pretty excited to try out Alexander's list. I think it was pretty fucking cool, right? I mean, it's a way of playing T-Sons which is super aggressive, and I think that that's awesome. The nerfs that I would expect from T-Sons are going to be on the things which are like clearly undercosted, like the Bogos, for example, right? Yeah, so like you can see stuff like that dropping away, and I don't think that stuff like that is really dictating the type of T-Sons list at all. So I don't necessarily know that the nerfs that I would expect to see are going to wildly shift the content of T-Sons. I would think, if anything, it's more that the fact that the Terminators are just really good is why you might start saying them.
My hot take is that the GOAT are not really even that good right now, and you should already be playing the Terminator.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue with the results that came out that you're not wrong there.
But yeah. Well, then I have a question for me. Is that, will I be ever free of Eldar in WTC?
No.
And they want to see me playing Chaos, but yeah, sadly in Belgium we have like a long history of Chaos players, so I always have a lot of Chaos player under the hand, and when Eldar is like not broken but super good, I'm probably the only one that want to play them. So no.
Wait, let's make an agreement right now that next year I will be free of my wizard jail, you'll be free of your Eldar jail. We'll high five over melee pressure and transports, and just go play our games.
I mean,
okay?
it would be my dream to play melee pressure. Like I almost played. I want to play Harlequin, but with transport, though it's melee pressure, right?
So yeah, that's how that works.
But yeah, but no, I'm probably the only like in the team this year. I was the only like real Eldar player. We have other players that play Eldar, but not as much as me. And because Eldar was really fucking good, so I had to bring them. But one day I'll play Chaos at the WTC. I mean, to be fair, 2 years ago I played Tyson at WTC, so like, I mean, but yeah. I want to play a melee pressure army at once at WTC, but not happening yet. Any thought of the nerf of the big three and the new Votan, the new Grey Knight, and the BT, and the new BT?
I think BT is. Yeah, I mean, I covered a little bit with it with Ines and Jeremy yesterday, but I think like the Death Guard nerfs, as much as like in theory are substantial when you actually look at them in an open space. When you actually look at it in comparison to some of the other stuff that's out there, I still believe that Death Guard was released just too cheap, and like this is what probably what they should have been when they came out, and I still think this is probably still on the cheaper side of some units. Probably not all of them. I think some things are a bit fairer now, but like I look at the bloat drones as like a key example, like with the heavy blight launchers. Those being at 120 to me are still, if they were released on that, I'd be like, this is too cheap. So like there's still a few things, but I think it's definitely in the right direction, at the very least. And I think CK is still going to be okay. Like I don't think these armies have been killed at all. Like I think Death Guard still might not be the top army, but it will definitely still exist amongst one of the top armies in the game, just because it just has more stuff that you can dive into. And similar with the CK and the IK are soon to get their book, so who knows how that changes. It usually changes for the better, right?
Yeah. I think the nerf are something, and it's probably good because I mean it was a bit of a hot take that they were not like even that broken already. Like they were the stronger army in the game, but they were a bit of a problem, but it was almost all right. And I think with the nerf, it's already a good step. Is it enough? We'll see the future. Like, because like, okay, now you cannot bring 6 knights to the table, but you bring 5 and a small one, which is almost the same. So we'll see. Next question, what do you want basically to see out of the slate for Orc? I guess that's for you, but I think Brian, you already said that they have almost a spot in team. But what would you see to have a real spot?
I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Because I actually don't think that Orcs. They picked up some nerfs, but it really feels like the game has kind of moved past them. So what they probably need is just they need more stuff, not like a ton more stuff, just like a little bit more stuff. And then I'd like to see some of their data sheets, which don't see much play, maybe get a bit of a glow up as well. And the problem with some of that space though is I feel like a lot of the data sheets and orcs that don't see play because of like fundamental issues with the design space that they operate in, or like the model itself, right? Like the kill rig, the hunter rig, or like Squig Hog Boys, just to kind of go example of it. I feel like a lot of those are like the model is just too enormous, right? Or it's mounted model, so it doesn't go through walls, and like just the practical reality of how events are played and with the terrain types means that you're not really going to see them. So I don't know what they can do in that space, but I'd love to see something that could make them move in a direction that makes them more usable, right? Because I think they're really cool and they're not bad. And I think orcs are doing things that are a little different from other armies, right? Their melee pressure version is different than others and different enough that they don't need a ton of help to get there. I don't think.
Okay. Next one is from Isaac. He is asking, what do you think is the meta dog after getting the top 3 nerf? I mean, I think it's the same thing, basically, like, because those 3 armies, especially in team, if we are looking at the teams specifically, they were dictating the meta, but they were not themselves kind of the top scoring faction in team, right? I don't know. But like...
I don't know. I still think like Death Guard is gonna be up there, if not top 3, top 4. Like I definitely think you're gonna see a heavier resurgence with Emperor's Children compared to before, because it's not like they've gotten worse. Like they're still pretty good, and the stuff around them's coming down in power level. I definitely think Guard's gonna be up there as well. I think if not top 3, at least top 5. The army felt very powerful at WTC, just in like matrix wise and in pairings with its role, and it just has like access to just a very good data sheets to answer the current meta and the meta that's coming up. Like it always had a favorable match against Death Guard and against the Knights, and like with stuff like EC coming out, the Woodworks has got not a bad matchup against that. Eldar is a trickier one with aspect hosts, and I have to admit it to Liam, which I hate. But
it's difficult. Oh yeah, for a guard.
Yeah, it's difficult for the guard, but it definitely feels like he's coming out into this more I guess, space where there's actually not many things that I look at and I'm like, oh, this is very tough. It's like, well, I would look at a few things like, oh, I need to play this correctly and I'll be fine. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, me, I don't think the meta is drastically changed. I think you'll see the same thing as before. Like, some army will go a bit down, but slightly. You might see a bit more of like, indeed, like EC, stuff like that can bring back a bit more, but they were already kind of there anyway. So, like,
I think that EC were a problem before, and I feel like this latest meta shift the meta shifted in a way which hit that problem comfortably under some knight bases. And now that those are gone, you're going to see that
problem
EC is
again.
still a problem. Yeah, so I think that EC is going to be the best army in the game, and I think we're going to see that play out.
I think, Brian, the problem is not EC, it's John, most likely. No?
Yeah, I could see Eldar is another one which I feel like could also be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
They feel really, really good, and as another army which I feel like wasn't really getting the attention that it deserved before the WTC. And it performed really well at WTC. So we'll see. I do think, generally speaking, though, the meta is going to be pretty well balanced, and hopefully the answer to which one is going to be the meta top dog is no one. But it never works out that way. But we can treat.
The last question is for me. He's asking what CSM detachment I will be playing at London. It's not really related to the WTC, but I mean, I'm not gonna change a winning team, right? So probably still veterans, but we'll see.
But Liam, you and I have agreed the Suicide Pact run it back with orcs and CSM. So we're just gonna play the exact same armies.
Yeah.
And then we have a super chat for you.
Yeah, I never first defended as God. I don't think I actually defended with God at this WTC. Like, God was never a defending army. I think I might have defended once against Poland, and that was my worst score. Like the list was designed just to attack into people. Like either first against the big stuff like knights, you defend with knights first, or into Votan, if some people were defending with Votan instead, and or attack stuff later on in the pairings. Like because it was really good against the pressure armies, even on their boards, because the Borgun gave you that. The Kaskin and the Chimeras is able to dig stuff from behind walls. But yeah, it was just more of an attacking aggressor list that into the right matchups get the right points. That was the way it was best used over the weekend. Well, over the week at WTC.
Bon. I think that's basically it for today. We cover everything, and 2 hours. We almost stick to the time limit. So
we never change.
Thanks, guys, to have listened to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I think we are gonna finish here now. I mean, unless some of you have something to add, but I think we are good. So
I guess maybe our next episode, you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah,
team event coming up. I think we're all going to.
Yes,
maybe.
We are going to ETC in middle of September.
Yep.
So we probably will do like an event to debrief that event, or
the enemy.
The
enemy of stat check. The pair of you.
Ah, yeah. You show it in the wrong side, but yeah.
No, it's the right.
That's fine. That's what Nas is doing. What he always does, which is get it just completely wrong, but in the right neighborhood.
Dude, what do you mean? It's coming up on YouTube correctly, so focus on you.
Yeah, so we'll probably do an episode ahead of time talking about the teams comps what we all took, and then we'll do another one as a wrap up as well.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think me and Brian are going with Ignite, and you are going with StatStage. That's what he was saying. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun one as well.
It's going to be great.
I'm going to beat Brian in the melee mirror and show him why I'm better.
So I don't even have to say anything because I know everyone's seeing that is already like rolling their eyes, so it's the collective point.
Nah. Listen, I'm willing to bet you money on this. You know, bet bigger money.
No,
ego and pride on the line.
Let's bet money now. Let's bet money.
Let's bet money. $100, dude. That I'll beat you in
if the matchup happens, You said just 100. Well, first off, $5. I don't want to use dollars because I'm not going back to America for a while. Love you, countrymen. Let's do 100. Let's do 100 quid.
100 quids.
I don't. If the matchup happens, 100 quid that I win the.
All right, cool.
Matchup. I just remember distinctly within the last year, a judge explaining you how to consolidate and pile.
Dude, it's all right. It doesn't matter, dude. You lot overcomplicate it. You just charge in, you roll long charges, or you roll short charges when you need, and like you swing around and you fucking stab them with your power spear, and it's done. Easy.
Step 1, throw away your demon prince turn 1. Step 2, figure it out. Step 3, roll 12s, get a win. The Knox formula for success.
It works, baby.
Oh, guys, see you. Ciao. It was cool.